Hey everyone, welcome back to She Burbs Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Wright.
Hey everyone, welcome back to She Burbs Podcast. Today's guest is Juliette Nelson. Hi, Juliette.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome to my podcast. Thank you for being a guest today.
And thank you for having me.
So, Juliette is a psychology professional, author, a speaker, entrepreneur, and an educator. So, can you tell our listeners what inspired you to write your book?
I actually was approached with an opportunity to kind of share a little bit of my life story a few years ago, and I kind of had this epiphany that they would not be the one to share my story. And so, in really trying to figure out what story I was going to share, which part of it, how I was going to share it, I happened to be having a conversation in 2019 over the summer with one of my mentees, and we were just talking about some of the things that we wish we knew going into college. And that's what made the light bulb go off in my head. And I was like, that's it. That's what I'm going to write about. And so it kind of was almost a first and foremost a book to my younger self. The things I would tell my younger self and the gems I would tell my younger self. But secondly, with those who are planning on going to college, also those going to grad school. And I'm sure that based on feedback, it's been even benefited professionals going into the real world or looking for a job or just trying to figure out what they want to do in life, right? But that's really where the inspiration lied. I did it in 3 weeks. It was a gift to myself. It was actually, it's about to be 2 years that I've done it. But it was a gift to myself for my birthday, and I do not recommend anyone try to write and publish a book in 3 weeks. It is the worst, but I got it done. And yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm gonna have to give my cousins these books. Well,
Yeah, it's a pretty solid book.
Well, one of my cousins, she already graduated college, and then the other one, he's going for a dentist to be a dentist. So
Right.
hopefully he checks out this interview.
Right. I think it's interesting. I will say that it's been interesting, the feedback that I've received from those who've already graduated, right? Those who are adults, those who haven't even gone to college. Like I've had grandparents reach out, I've had parents reach out, I've had recent graduates reach out, or people who are in professional settings. And it was almost, it almost brought back some nostalgia for them. And it's almost like, wow, these are some of the things that I really wish I had going into college. So for some, it's almost like just bringing them back to, their years in school or sharing those experiences that they did not have, but giving them some kind of something to relate to and identify with. So.
Wow, that's cool. So what are the top 3 takeaways from your book?
Right. So the first is self-awareness, knowing yourself, understand how you learn, understand how you function, understand your personality, and use that to create and drive your learning experience. Right. This is something I do with my students, my clients. If you're introverted and you function better in a smaller class setting, then you have no business trying to apply to universities with lecture halls that have 120 students in them.
Right.
And then the second takeaway is it just really honing in on those skills and understanding the value that those skills have. Reading, writing, public speaking. I know I was one of those kids in high school who was learning about the Pythagorean theorem. And I'm like, how is this going to apply to me in real life? Like when I'm paying for groceries, I'm not going to be asked about the angle of a triangle, right? But, I think a lot of us go into college with that same mentality of, what am I going to do with all this reading, writing, and public speaking? But it's very, very valuable, not only just in college, but also in the real world. Even for yourself as a podcaster, you are publicly speaking, no matter how big or small the audience is. And even though they're virtual, it's still a form of public speaking. And, taking those skills seriously in school when they're handed to you, it's really essential. And the third is, just how you manage your relationship with your network, building your brand, networking, connecting with people who would provide value to your academic journey, but also trusting your process, right? I think it's very tempting for us to see people graduating before us, or breezing through their journey, or getting a new job quicker than we are, or as we perceive, and us saying, oh my goodness, I wish I had what they had. But,
Right.
you know, it's important for us to trust our own journey. Interestingly enough, I connected with a friend from my childhood, a few months ago. And she's in human resources, and she took, I believe, maybe like 6 or 7 years to graduate with her bachelor's.
Wow.
But she nearly basically landed in human resources, a human resources role, within the year that she graduated. And some of my peers, they'll look at me and say, okay, Juliette graduated in 4 years and it was quick. And, you know, they saw me working in professional settings, but what they don't realize is I never had a niche. I never knew where I could fit. And I can't make it up. It took 10 years, at least, actually a few months ago, for me to fall in the position that was the perfect fit for me. So
Wow.
really, you know, just trusting your journey, you know, and not thinking that because someone's grass appears to be greener, that it's actually as green, or is actually as healthy, or it's growing as quickly. You know, everybody has their own story, and it's tailor-made for them.
Right.
And yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, how did you discover your purpose?
How did I discover my purpose? It started in all places in the world, started in South Korea. This little Haitian kid graduated
Wow.
from college, and I graduated from college. I got this opportunity to teach English in South Korea. And I went. I'm an only child. Of course, I'm a female. So it culturally, it was just unheard of and uncommon for
Yeah.
this girl who just graduated from college to just up and leave her parents' house and go halfway across the world.
Wow.
To teach, out of all things. Fun fact, I never knew when I was actually leaving, because I said I was going, but I didn't believe myself until I actually had to go. So they actually purchased my ticket the night or two before I had to leave. So that's when I actually found out that I had to leave. But for
Wow.
months, I was just telling people goodbye, hugging, kissing, crying, but not really knowing when the last goodbye would be. But that was a fun fact. Anyway, while I was in South Korea, um, I knew that when I came back to the United States, I was going to go to law school, right?
Oh,
And my Caribbean parents, again, culturally, if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, or an engineer, you failed. That's it. You
right.
failed. It doesn't matter what else you're doing in life. You're a failure. So I was set on just taking a break, doing this whole year thing, and then coming back. And I think just something told me, you know, why go to law school when you can just see what this business degree does for you? And I remember praying a prayer, and I was like, God, I want you to use me to touch people from different cultures and different backgrounds, because I really, really enjoyed the connections I was making with my students. I knew I didn't really want to be back in a classroom setting, but I knew that I enjoyed that connection I was making with people just from different backgrounds, you know, being able to see the things that connect you, but also celebrating each other for what makes you unique. And prior to me leaving, the director of my school, who also happened to be the pastor of my church, he gave me the Korean name Nanuri, which means to share. And he commissioned me to share my gift wherever I go. So I kind of held the Korean name Nuri, hence Nuri popping up in like all of my businesses and so on and so forth. I held on to that name, and that's just a reminder of what I'm meant to do in this world, you know, and how I'm meant to make an impact. You know, and I'm grateful because I've had people who constantly just held me accountable from even teenagehood. I've been a children's choir director since I was 15 and a half. And it being 15 and a half, the half mattered when I was 15 and a half. So I guess to honor my younger self, I always keep the half in there. But you know, even when I tried to run from being a children's choir director, and I mean, I've worked with children's choirs of over 100 kids. It's not easy, but it is eventful. They keep you on your toes, but it's one of the biggest honors of my life, you know, and I've also been honored to have people who, you know, always kind of brought me back, no matter how challenging and frustrating it got, saying, you know, maybe this is what you're meant to do. Maybe you're meant to really pour into people and teach them and uplift them and help them to, you know, tap into some of their talents and so on and so forth. So Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So do you ever do like speaking engagements, like speaking large crowds?
I think I did more of that. I'm a preacher's kid. So by default, I used to sing before my father preached in front of like, crowds of like hundreds of people. But that also afforded me the opportunity to conduct workshops and seminars and so on and so forth, especially to for nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations. I've also spoken at schools. Prior to COVID, I've been able to go back. My elementary school where I grew up in, they had like a crayons to college where they bring all the graduates back and really have us speak to the students about where we are in life and really, connect with them, having been in their shoes so many years ago. So I do. I have done speaking engagements. COVID hasn't really allowed me to appear in person, but yeah.
Yeah, wow. So when you were a teacher in South Korea, did you learn their language? Like, do you know how to speak a little of their language?
Yeah, so I learned I did start learning the language. I also started learning Chinese. Chinese,
Wow.
I tell you one thing, Korean and Chinese are beautiful languages. And I know here in the United States, I think we always not we, I'm not going to include myself in we, but people, they like to ridicule those who don't speak English as a first language, people who have
Right.
an accent. Um and when you learn different languages and you really take the time to enjoy and cherish those languages, man, there's just a beauty in those languages. So that was something I was able to enjoy. I had a Korean teacher, I had several Korean teachers. And one thing I did with my students, it's challenging learning English. I had to even relearn English from a grammatical perspective.
Mhm.
Um, but there were times I came in and I said, you know what, we're gonna spend the first 5 minutes of class and let y'all be the teachers. And they would teach me Korean. They would look at my handwriting. My students would say, oh, my kids would be like, oh my gosh, you write like a little pre-kindergartner. Um, but it was also a way to, connect with them, and also make them feel like, I was interested in who they were as individuals. And yeah, I learned it. Now I don't speak it as much at all. There were a couple of short phrases that I've always held on to. But I'm gonna tell you this one thing. I love me some Korean dramas. I love me some Korean dramas. So that's something that allows me to practice my listening and also remain, connected to the culture.
Wow, me too. So how did you find a balance in your professional, academic, and personal life?
People love asking this question. And I get it. I get it. Um, it changes every so often. It really does change. I think now I'm in a phase of doing one thing at a time. And I'm lying. Maybe like focusing a little bit more on one thing at a time while being okay with saying, okay, we're not going to invest as much energy into the others. Also being kind to myself, telling myself that it's okay to take a break,
Yeah.
telling myself that it's okay to take a nap. Because adult naps, I got to tell you, are better than the kid naps you took in
Oh,
kindergarten.
yeah.
They're much better. And one thing I also do is write a to-do list. Something I actually recently started. I put up a whiteboard in my bedroom, and at night, and I haven't gotten it consistently, but I do it every so often. And at night, what I do is I literally put out all the things that I have to do the next day, and I
Wow.
jot them down on the whiteboard. And it's kind of like me just releasing this burden of everything that's stuck in my head so I can sleep at night. And in the morning, I have actually this notebook here that my mother got me probably as a prayer journal. And I'm sorry, Mom, because I don't use it as a prayer journal. But I write a to-do list on one side every morning of about 10 to 20 things. And then on the other side, I write affirmations. Now, with the to-do list, they can range from drink water, get out of bed, exercise for 30 minutes, to send this email or finish this project, finish this task. And the psychology of it, at least for myself, is really celebrating the little wins. So
Mm-hmm.
when you have a list of 15 to 20 things to do, but you see that the drinking water in the morning is crossed off, or meditating in the morning is crossed off, or I don't know, wash the dishes. What happens is you actually feel like you're being productive. You don't feel like you're lazy and you're doing nothing. So that really helps in me achieving this level of balance, where I'm taking care of myself. I'm being reminded to take care of myself, but I'm also being reminded of all the other things I need to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the affirmations, it's really speaking the things that I want to be, and not, I don't want to call them unrealistic, but not, I'm going to be a millionaire type
Mm-hmm.
of thing, but very much, okay, you want to be a millionaire, but how are you going to achieve that? So am I saving money out of a paycheck? Am I, if I want to achieve a weight goal, what am I doing? Am I drinking a gallon of water every day? Am I exercising for 30 minutes? And what happens is I write them every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And some days I skip, but I try to be consistent almost every day in writing them. And, sometimes I won't do those things, but what happens is when you see it enough, you
Mm-hmm.
begin to achieve, you begin to do it and implement it.
Right.
And that's really what's kind of helped me be balanced. Some of my affirmations are: I'm being kind to myself, I'm showing love, compassion, and grace to myself and others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also reminding me that, hey, you can be a boss girl and, save the world if that's what you want to do, but you also
Mm-hmm.
need to, take care of your temple and really take care of yourself. So
Yeah, I love that. That's what I've been doing too. Like I got a big whiteboard too, and I haven't been meditating like I'm supposed to, but it definitely helps. Like whenever
right,
I went to the hospital, they told me
right.
I need to do better. And I was
Right.
like,
You will be surprised how much, just the mind is such a powerful thing, and we spend so much time um focusing on, for example, if we want to talk about like losing weight or clear
mhm,
skin, we focus on like the skin regimen, or we focus on exercise and whatever. But
mhm,
the mind, what you put in your mind and what you retain, that could make such a huge difference
yeah,
in just your state of being. So
I agree. I agree 1,000%. I want to thank you so much, Julia, for coming on my podcast today and chatting with me.
thank you for having me.
You have a great day.
You too.
Bye. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Juliette. If you would like to purchase her book or see what else she has going on, I know she has her own eyewear collection that she's trying to form. So if you all want to check that out, it's on her website. It's Juliette. Hold on, Juliette Nelson. I think that's right. Juliette Nelson, and I have linked it in my website. So if you want to go on my website, I am going to have it tinkering below so you all can see it. That's my website. So if you go to my website, you can find Juliette Nelson's name on my website, and you can go on her website and check out what she has. So just a reminder, she's an author, speaker, entrepreneur, educator, and philosopher, psychology professional. So if you want to check out anything that she has going on, just go to my website and it's on there. Thank you all so much. Have a great day and make great choices. Bye.